Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat, as we are here every week to talk about our favorite sport. Adam, Ross, and Clinton here. How you doing today, bud?
I'm all right. I just noticed, though, this is the first show I can remember that we haven't made small talk, like leading up to it. The minute lead. Normally, we're talking about something that's relevant or complaining about something in common, or this was nothing. Just the countdown clock started, and it was us sitting in silence, staring
We
at our
got the
screens.
pleasure of listening to you listen to Wheel of Fortune tonight, Family Feud instead of Old Time Country. So, anyways, good to be here. We're going to have Brandon Feeney join us. He drove 3 classes at Autumn Colors on the weekend. We'll talk to him about that, about his podcast and some of the other stuff going on. We want your thoughts on a couple things. I put on here Adam versus the Four Bangers because the mini stocks, a couple of them are still mad at Adam. We'll see where we're going with that. We'll talk about 2-day shows with one payout. Adam, this is, Mike Goulart made a post where we'll dig into that in a bit, where it talks about, you qualify one day and actually only get a feature payout on the second day. You have to pay 2 admissions. Where is that whole thing going? Riero and Nassi on the weekend was pretty wild deal. We got some videos of that too, and we'll talk about that. And a couple other things, and anything else you guys want to chat about. So let us know if you got something in mind that you want to talk about, and we'll get into it. First off, Adam, back to Autumn Colors this weekend. You and Spencer went back. It was a one-camera light shoot for us, but we were live. Spencer was doing replays, camera, and everything all at once, which is crazy to think about. You went back and called the races. Talk about the day for us, Adam, on the remake-up of Autumn Colors.
First off, I thought the racing was fantastic. Exciting races, late race pass in the mini stocks. Miles Tyson made some beautiful moves to work up through the super stocks and win that. Danny Benedict had to hold off Trayton Lapsevich. They raced with a lot of respect. It was just really good racing all day long, I thought. I mean, that clip there, that's about the biggest lead Danny had all day long.
Yeah, I love the track. I think it's a great spot to watch a race. Whenever you talk to the drivers and teams that participate there, they all seem to love Peterborough. Jake Sheridan told me there the week prior that this place makes you feel like you're going a million miles an hour. It makes you feel like you're going faster than any other place. And he said he loves it. But yeah, so many people were into this place. I thought all the racing was fabulous.
Yeah, the best victory lane, maybe all year, was the Oscar Hot Rods, where AJMs was smiling for pictures, and Tyler Hahn and Rick Spencer-Walt were just looking at each other, throwing shots the whole time. And you know what? Great respect for Tyler Hahn, because Rick Spencer-Walt is a tough dude, right? If he's going to come at you, not many people would go chin up and give it right back to him, and Tyler was. He was ready to stand his ground. So hats off. It didn't go any farther than that, which is great. It was some good talking, some good rivalry, and it gave some good sound bites.
I don't know what happened before Delaware, because they were already in that mode when they got to Delaware. Then they came out of Delaware angry at each other with the 1-2 finish, and again up front with podium finishes for both, and getting things a bit crazy. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it. G-Force TV here on YouTube will have it. You can find it from the previous week. A couple other things, Adam. I thought I was super impressed with the how on schedule they were. I mean, I think they finished almost an hour ahead of the listed time, which was great. Both weekends, even we were there the prior weekend for 3 days, battling the weather. When we got the race in Friday and Saturday, they were pretty much to the minute on schedule, and I think that helps builds your events. If you're on time, you're not wasting time. You got things rolling in the right direction. It makes people want to invest and come back, and especially when you have rain. The other thing that was well documented, well talked about at Peterborough was the cleanup crew. They hustled. I don't think we ever had any long, really dragged out time where, it was longer than it ever should have been. They were definitely on top of their game all weekend. So hats off to JP Payton and all their staff for everything they do down there.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Robert chiming in. Robert Hill was a blast to work with. Charlie Toner is always a blast, so that was fun. And Robert brought a lot of new energy to the announcers booth. So that's always neat, right? When you work with someone who's done their homework, they know what they're looking at when they come in. So I had a blast calling that. It was just all around excellent. Little inside baseball here. The show was too fast. There was fireworks at the end. We had to do driver introductions for the super stocks out of car to kill about 10 minutes to make sure that it was going to be dark enough, because as soon as the race ended, the fireworks were to go off. So they had to make sure that we were into dusk to get that thing started. So it's those little things that you don't know that's going on. And there was probably people there thinking, why the hell are we doing introductions like this for the last race like for super stocks? That why are they different than anybody else? Because the show had gone off too quickly and they needed to take a bit more time.
I did have those questions in my mind, like why the super stocks, but it makes sense. Brandon Feeney's ready to join us now. We'll bring him on, and we'll get talking about some of the stuff going on with him and everything he's got going on. 3 classes coming out of Autumn Colors. Brandon, welcome to the program. First off, we watched your race on Saturday, but talk about how did you end up in 3 classes at Autumn Colors last weekend?
Well, the funny story is I wasn't even supposed to race Autumn Colors. The last points night was supposed to be my last race, actually, basically ever. But Art Rogers messaged me probably 2 weeks before Colors saying that he wasn't able to drive his hot rod, the Uncle Buck car, as Adam calls it. And then I'm like, well, if I'm driving a car, I may as well take my modified. Double duty. It was basically what I did all season this year. And then, with the rain out, Gary Hanna wasn't able to make out the rain out. So he goes, can you drive the car so we still get paid? And I'm like, we should have no problem. I did turn down a couple more rides. We were supposed to be in actually, I think 5 classes that day. But at a certain point, you're just slowing the show down if you drive too many classes.
Yeah, you're right. And what are the odds? The first race of the day that you're in is the 167 lap late model race, and your power steering starts to go away. Talk us through that, because that would not be a fun racetrack to drive without power steering.
So this isn't the first time I've lost power steering at Peterborough. It's actually one of the easier tracks to kind of base the momentum off, I guess, because I'm used to being there. But I think it was around lap 76, right before the competition caution, I started getting a chatter through the rack, and then it just got worse and worse. So I had to have this high arc and just kind of basically come up halfway up the straightaway as leaders going around me and then arc down in. So I didn't hit them, but it actually wasn't that bad with Gary's car because it just couldn't counter steer. So if you seen I got loose, I went right down to the grass where I could turn it back easier and stuff like that.
Brandon,
it wasn't that bad.
Let's talk about what the grand plan is. How did you come into 2023? What were you racing? You're going out with a few classes, but where do you want to be in 2024?
So 2024, as of right now, I am retired. I have sold the super stock and I've sold the mini stock. The modified was just kind of it's just going to be a trailer piece for now. I might even sell it, but I'm actually going to be working with Jomo Media doing some PR work and working with Impact Motorsports doing some Demolition Derby announcing and stuff like
that. And Brandon, that's really cool. What drew you to, some people, they get out of racing and eventually they move over to doing some commentary or, it's a natural thing. You look to me like you're in your prime. And it's not like you couldn't do it, because you could have sold 2 of your race cars and still been able to run a single. So I don't want to say it's not about money, because it could be, but you have a pretty big fleet. What drew you to this side of the business? Because really it is where the huge riches are. I'm sure you found that already.
It's where the Timbits are, at least.
That's true.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I ran a super stock and mini stock this year in a $3,000 budget for the 2 cars. I got 3rd in points with both those cars this year, and I knew looking to 2024 that wasn't going to be sufficient to run the super stock the way I wanted to run it, and or run a modified or et cetera, move up a class without trying to move down and just start picking on people in the bone stock and almost doing like a bushwhacking scenario, right? Like as much fun as I'd have running in mini stock and bone stock, I just don't want people to complain because I've driven late models and all this other stuff to be like, oh, we just drive in bone stock now and etc. So it made more sense for maybe I can take some time off, save up some money, and come back racing at a later date, or maybe who knows, maybe I'll end up driving for somebody.
Afterlife says you'll be in a car. Someone else asked, can you just walk away? Is it possible to just pack it in?
It's possible. It's already tough. Like I said, I was supposed to be retired on the last night of points racing at Peterborough, which is Labor Day weekend. And then I drove the modified for Herb Walters there at Sunset. And I realized as a Peterborough guy, I can't retire at Sunset as somebody else's number. I had to do it as 38. And so like I said, that was the thought, was just walking away after that. And if the money's not there, the money's not there. Racing isn't a cheap sport. And unfortunately, you can put so many years of being not competitive there, but as soon as you start being competitive, it's really hard to go back to being okay not being competitive again.
No, that makes total sense. Brandon, and I wanted to bring you on because I thought it was a great grassroots story. You didn't go out there and win all 3 races that you were in, but you went out there and you grinded away, and that's what racing's all about, is showing up and putting on a show and then stepping into a podcast world. It'll be fun to see what you're able to do. Clinton, did you have anything else you wanted to ask Brandon about? I don't want to ship him off if you've still got...
Yeah, you just talked about when we met at Flamborough, you talked about maybe doing some garage visits. Talk a bit about Jomo. What's your plan there, and what brings you to the media side? Well, what are the goals and aspirations there?
So we were talking at Flamborough, I'm trying to learn more aspects of the racing business itself. So as a driver, you understand what it takes to make the cars go around the track and all that stuff. But as the other side, I don't understand what it takes for you guys to have your TV show there. I don't understand what it takes for the PR and stuff like that, for all the essential stuff for the sponsors to come on board for these other drivers. So Jomo is kind of taking me underneath his wing, and I'm going to hopefully help some lower end drivers be able to have a PR person so they can help their sponsors to grow the sport. So we can have maybe 30, 40 bone stocks at every track, or etc. So this way, even though I'm not racing, I can still hopefully help grow the sport. And who knows, maybe I'll get into commentary full time, maybe at Peterborough, or maybe I'll, once in a while come help you guys out. Maybe hold a camera or something like that.
No, for sure. And I think that's awesome. The sport needs it. I mentioned it on the weekend because it was Robert Hill who pointed out there was a junior flagger. There was a flag person in the stands, set of flags, waving the flags. I said, there's no one in the stands pretending to be an announcer. It's an area that is underserved with people wanting to get into it. So the fact that you want to fill that role or come into that role and learn, and the sport needs exactly that kind of energy. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's one of those things that you don't know if you're good at it till you try, right? So I messaged you before I did my first derby announcing at the Lindsay Fair, and it went over really well. I got to work on filling dead space, but it's one of those things. That's the hardest thing for me to do, is like, what can I do to fill dead space in an area I don't know? Like, I used to do demolition derbies, so I can talk about the action really well, but it's one of those things that's like, oh, I don't know who the sponsors of the show and stuff like that. So I'll actually be working, I think, this Saturday at Fall Brawl in Lindsay too. So.
Oh, good for you. That's
feel
great.
Bad. I mean, Adam will tell you, we go on the Pinty's tour, and Adam would get down trackside, and I don't have anybody to bounce off of, and I'll get dragged out for 10, 12 minutes sometimes, and man, even after 25 years, filling dead air is some of the hardest stuff to do when there's nothing going on, and keep it entertaining and not just say the same shit that everybody's heard already,
Because when stuff's going on, everyone's occupied. Everyone sees you're just window dressing, you're gravy. It's when everything stops, there's nothing else happening. You've got to try to cling to something. But that's the fun part, right? Learning what you're good at. Some people are good with a corny line. Take someone like Jamie Maudsley. Man, that dude has some phenomenal gimmicks for if someone's lost a cell phone or a set of keys. Like he's got 2 minutes he can go off on, and I'll have people laughing. I can't do that to save my life. So you'll find out what lane that you run in, Brandon, and the fact that you've driven so many things is instant credibility too.
Yeah, there's only 2 cars on my list that I haven't driven that just financially aren't reasonable for me to ask to borrow a car. But I feel like in 9-year career to drive the amount of cars I have and somewhat successfully, I feel like I've done all right.
Right on, man. We appreciate you being here, Brandon. We'll watch what goes on with you next year, and good luck. And you never know where we could cross paths again.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys, and good luck with the show. And hopefully, I'll see you again in maybe a G-Force uniform.
You never know, man.
Sounds good,
man.
You
have a lot of turnover. When you look at it, there's so many aspects to the sport that, we've been through it so much, but it's funny when you hear, from the other side, there's a lot of aspects that people don't really realize all the stuff that goes on. I think even when someone hangs around me for like, wow, I can't believe all this has to happen. Like, yeah, it doesn't just magically happen,
And the things that happen while you're working, you have to talk and make sense and keep on talking while someone else is just off to the side of you saying things that you need to hear because it's what you're going to say next. So sometimes, we'll have Spencer in our ears telling us things. But sometimes there's a track owner that walks in or the promoter, hey, we just got handed this note. And you've got to try to slide this all in. And sometimes it's smooth, and other times you got no choice but say, hey, JP just walked in and handed me this note. What do you got, JP? Like you can't bluff it. You just have to go with what you're given and hope that on the note doesn't say something like your fly is undone. Like hopefully it's something of value.
I'll tell you one that happened to me in a second, but you're right. I think the biggest thing for us to learn as we got into the new technology was being able to finish a sentence when someone else starts a new sentence in your ear. You'll be in the middle of a thought, and I'll come in with saying the next thing, or we're going to commercial. How many times we hear that? You're in the middle of a thought, or go to break right after this. Spencer's giving us a full sentence in our ear as you're finishing your thought, smooth as can be. I gave my headset to Jack one night, and I have a radio for Doug Leonard race control, radio for Spencer TV control, and you guys piped into both ears too. So all night long, I got a mixture of volume adjusting going on to figure out who do I want to hear. Most of the time now we got down, you just turn Spencer off because Jack's right beside me, and if he needs me, he'll be like, Spencer's trying to talk to you. So I usually miss the first call, but we get it going. But yeah, it's crazy. The note I got handed to me in my rookie year announcing, the mod stocks were out there, and there was a rental car program in Niagara where you could rent cars. So every week it was a different driver. Well, I said, who's in the 16? And Bob Cinnamon Jr., the race director there, veteran at Riero, handed back a sheet to me, just over his shoulder. He's the front row. I pick it up. It says, Jass, number 16, Hugh. So they have, number 4, here comes Hugh Jass. And the number C, you son of a bitch. Got me.
Well
Got the rookie
played.
announcer good with that one. I was like, oh, man.
We had some great initiations. Super Dirt Week, Syracuse was pretty cool with Shane Andrews, Doug Elkins throwing dollar bills out the window of the tower and looking down at the people below.
Yeah, maybe we should explain that. I'm sure we talked about it in the store on the show before, but Adam and I got to announce the Dirt Week one year, and they told us, "Can you come back tomorrow? Bring single dollar bills like you're going to the strip club, $20 each." We're like, what? For the dollar bill drop. So sure enough, at the old fairgrounds at the Syracuse, they had the gondola that hung kind of over the middle part of the grandstand. Was where the announcers were. It had big windows.
Racing.
Yeah, had windows you could open up and look right down the crowd. Well, it was a long, like 80 feet long. So there's windows all along it. Well, people are walking up from either end and they're dropping $1 bills. When people are sitting there watching the race, all of a sudden a dollar bill falls in your lap from the heavens, and you look up, you don't see nothing, and down at the other end, there's a dollar bill falling. People are, and it's just great watching people freak out when money's falling from the sky and they have no idea where it's coming from. So that was some fun there too.
Things that we've got to do.
What are we going to talk about now? I had a good thought there. Do you want to talk about you and the 4 cylinders, how's that still lingering? Where are we with that? You sent it to the chat, so I
Oh,
put it on there.
yeah. What was so? And the funny thing is, I had a bunch of message requests that I didn't see on Facebook, and I only noticed them yesterday morning. So I'm going back, and some of them were people affiliated with mini stock teams, and I offended a few of them, and I did
Let's set
everything
the stage
except
first.
apologize.
So last week, during the first run of Autumn Colors, we talked about it in extensive last week. The mini stocks were called as the second race on the track. They didn't feel it was ready, or a meeting was called. There was some controversy there. Adam was pretty abrupt and forthright with his comments towards them, and some of them had defended. So continue, Adam. This week, you realize you missed a bunch of them, and you got some messages.
I got some messages, and the funny thing is, and one or two of them were pretty scathing. And Clinton, you can attest to this because you've seen me. I thanked them for the note. Said, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I said, here's where I was coming from. We have a difference of opinion. All good. In one case, I got to say, great race on the weekend. Like after a nasty message. By the way, great run on Saturday. It was fun watching you come through the pack. Sorry it didn't end well. But in the end, it's what we do. We give opinions. And I have lots of opinions. And in that particular case, there was a lot of things that broke down. And people were upset. And as I left, Sean Taylor, one of the people that wasn't real happy with me, but we had a lengthy conversation on Facebook. I came down the stairs, shook his hand, said, man, that was a hell of a drive. Great pass at the end of that. And away you go. We have always, doesn't justify bad behavior, but we have always said we don't want to be PR people. We're not fluffers. We're not there to just everything is great, everything is rainbows. We play both sides. We give opinions. We've been around a long time. We're not always right. Hell no, we're not always right. But we always try to cover it from an angle of being a race fan. And I thought that's what we did. Even last weekend at Peterborough, when we were talking about the fact that there was no cars on the track. For a race fan in the stands, I've been sitting there, my ass is wet, I'm freezing my butt off. Why are there no cars on the track? So that's where that came from. I don't think there's much residual from it. I think Matt Young's probably had enough of me poking fun at his race car, but that is the most fun race car I've seen this year. Yeah, I if they're not over it, they're not over it. But that's okay. I think most of them I had a chance to talk to the ones that wanted to talk.
Now, talking with genuine opinions and not being, just blowing smoke. I think it comes down to what you said about you kind of find your style as an announcer. We know some great guys. I mean, you watch Dirt Week like we do. You see a great example of some good stats guys, some good color guys, some reactionary guys. I think you and I both have the same style. We're not big paper pushers. We don't come with notebooks and stats. We react to what we see going on around us. And I think, sometimes the reaction is genuine and sometimes we let our own opinions flow because that's where we are. And I think it's cool that you can at least answer them and stand up for your opinion and tell it like you feel. And that's what's going to build your fans. Even the ones who don't like you are going to at least respect that you got, something to say.
Maybe. It's important to me that even the ones who don't like me know that I will listen. I'm here to be accountable for what I say. Just like anybody else needs to be accountable for their actions at a racetrack, things that you do or say. I'm the same way. It doesn't mean you have to like it. It just means we have to stand up to it.
Right on. Let's jump into some videos. Some Burger Barn video of the week. I don't know where we are for Burger Barn video of the week. Actually, let me look at this because I got turned down by the censor board today, Adam. I put in 2 videos today, and the wizard said, those are too close to standards. One, I'll have to share it on my Facebook page, I think. He said that the car gets crashed and splits in half, and the driver gets flung out. And he said that was just too close to standards. I'm like, come on, I'll put on a disclaimer and everything. It's all over social. He said no. So, first time the Burger Barn video was ever turned down. But we do have another fun one.
What the hell happened there?
I'm going to have to send it to you. We can't even talk about it. No nudity.
All right.
No nudity, just a mini stock. over in Europe or something, hit the tree, split in half, and the driver got flung out. So I think he was all right. There was so much good.
It's not It's not
No.
Torgerson and Chili Bowl, who everyone is
No.
finally starting to throw under the bus to say he didn't do up his belts.
No, it wasn't that. Okay, do we have the motorcycle chariots? Before I die, I want to announce a motorcycle chariot race. Play it. Look at this, Adam. 2 motorcycles, running them with like rods or strings or some kind of shit. Now, I ride motorcycles. This is insane. Look at the crowd. Dude, we gotta find these guys and get them on the Big O. What's that?
I don't blame the crowd. I'd be there.
Can you imagine me and you out there? On chariots? That'd be awesome.
Be a hell of a lot slower than these.
Speak for yourself.
You dug deep.
I think
you dug deep
that's
for that.
awesome. No, I don't. Just falls in your lap like dollars from Dirt Week. I don't know where it comes from. It just lands in my face some days. Yeah, the other one got taken out. Yeah, it got to be Australia or England. I agree, but I want to announce one of them one day. That'd be awesome. Or announcing while we're on the chariot. Now, Robert, you got that one right.
So here's the I'm gonna pitch you something after the show, Clinton.
Oh,
I want to do this. I want to do some announcing while we drive. It's gonna be cold, but we got to do it. Like, how can we not go ice racing? I found out what's involved in it, and I just think the potential is so amazing for the investment that you need to put in. And you can film everything. You have passengers. Like, there's so in these tracks, the best part is on these tracks, they turn right. It's an oval where you turn right. And there's a freaking passenger. So who's gonna get hit if someone comes up the inside of you? Yeah, so I got offered a ride. Connor and I got offered a ride by Bob Lynch, an old friend. And one day when this happens, I'm going to tell the story, Clinton, because Bob is quite a bit older than I am. His kids are quite a bit younger than I am. My dad is quite a bit older than Bob, but we race go-karts at the same time, and we've carried on a friendship for 30 years, even though we're sort of between generations. But the deal is you can have someone come up and drive. So you can get a guest license, and I think there's even a class for first-timers. But the licensed driver with the CASC membership has to ride shotgun.
Oh.
Not only is he going to let us drive his car, he has to ride shotgun for the experience.
See, you and Connor go have fun. Okay, here's a couple reasons why. Like Robert Hill said, Dexter Stacey and the Kanawaki boys, they put a few through the ice last year. So you're on me like, what could go wrong? We could drown, and know what your answer is? It's in Minden. Well, you know what I did? I Google mapped Minden. That's not far enough north to not go through the ice, brother. You know what I mean?
It's sanctioned by CASC. They don't start until late in the winter. It's solid ice.
Oh my goodness. That would be crazy. Crazy.
But think how many cameras you could be mic'd up for the money.
Great, so everybody can watch us drown. Are we going to have genuine Saskatchewan seal bindings like Super Dave Osborne or what? Like, I don't know, man.
Think of how wealthy our kids would be if you and I go through the ice and die on live stream.
Not rich.
The legacy we would leave.
Hey, speaking of this and passengers, I've just followed the Weber Valley Speedway. Their release came out today. This week, Saturday 21st, is Baby Racer Night. This weekend only, you can bring a baby to race with you in the car for 5 extra season points that count towards the championship. Don't have a baby? No issues. Fans can pay $70 to have their baby ride in a rear race car with a driver at Weber Valley Speedway. Every driver has to have at least one baby with them in the car for a real race. That's crazy. One lucky baby win the Baby of the Night award. I love it. It's so creative. If you're not checking it out on Facebook, yes. Weber Valley Speedway. And now they've gotten into the AI photos. So artificial intelligence has really helped up their game. And every day they got a wicked photo. Today we're watching Gage Martinez I don't think that's even going to come through there, but he's got a baby here in the seat getting ready to roll in the picture today.
Gage Martinez
awesome.
is awesome. Yeah,
I'm
it's
checking
so
out the joke site at Weber Valley. Let's jump into some
WEABER.
Yeah, let's jump into some serious stuff. First off, let's just jump into Kyle freaking Larson. Throw up that screenshot, Spencer. How amazing is this dude? Tuesday, he wins the High Limit Series. Thursday, test for Indy rookie orientation. Sunday, wins the Cup Series. He's the modern day
crashes.
Everything.
He crashes on Sunday and still wins.
Yeah.
That car, not many people could have saved that race car as sideways as he was, let alone carry on and win the damn race.
What can you say about Kyle Larson, though, man? The kid is the real deal and just continues to get better. I think he is going to bring a whole new wave of excitement back to Indy this year. Just obviously it's a NASCAR guy, but he's going to have the NASCAR folks, the sprint car folks, everybody with their eyes on that deal. So exciting to see how that goes. Let's jump into a couple more Burger Barn videos this week. These are stuff that we don't love to talk about, but this is the Riero versus Nassi situation. I think we got it from a couple angles. I know we got it from at least one, Adam. So maybe we want to set this up a bit, but not too much, and then we'll roll it, and then we'll analyze it a couple more times so people kind of know what they're looking for. But so Nassi and Riero got together at the end of the race. This is post-race as they're about to do burnouts. Stephen Nassi pulls up beside Riero. Right?
Don't even go there. Don't say they're about to do donuts because they don't do donuts.
Okay.
The winner might. Unless there's a winner and a champion.
It would have been at the time of the race when the winner would typically be doing donuts.
Right.
Fair enough?
Right.
So this is right after the cool down lap.
Yeah.
And okay, now play it, Spencer.
Nassi pulls up, showing Gio what position he finished in.
Yeah, I think Steven wants to have
so the 51, isn't happy to 22. But watch this. 22 lights it up and hits a crewman. Oof.
Burnout, and down goes one of the crew members. As Riero
then it gets a bit wild.
Not do a burnout. Nassi out of the car, heading up to the Riero. Security is there. Security will take Nassi down to keep there from being a big brawl.
Yeah, really keeping it from being a big brawl, security.
Yeah.
As the Winchester 400 ends in drama.
Yep. It was go time, Gio. He's
play it again, Spence. That one again, and we'll just watch when the car fires it up. So here, Nassi's cut across the 22's nose to stop him. The 22 backs up.
Yeah, I think Steven wants to
proceeds to do, I guess, what he wanted to do is Victory Lane Donuts. Or do you think he tried to spin out because the crew was there, Adam? Stop it there, Spence. Do you think that was intentional, Adam? Now, we don't know the crews enough intimately, and the Blackjack tells that one of his crew, another crew. You don't really know.
From what I gather, that's Stephen Nassi's dad that got run over. I'm not going to get into intent on what he did because it doesn't even. I mean,
do we have it from another angle, Spencer?
So because what if he had hit his head and died? Now we're talking about a situation like we all lived through in New York that you don't want to. You don't need to speculate intentions. I think we can break down the situation by pointing out 6 things that went wrong that would have prevented that from ever going down. You know what I mean? Like at that point, that situation is so messed up that it's 3 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, you and I talked about it. It's we talked about why are they even out there? How did they get that close? But I mean, I talked about you like even on the APC, we could easily be that close at Delaware or Sunset. The wall's right there. So your driver comes down. There's nobody guarding the wall. Anybody just walk out onto the track when they want at the end. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because for the most part, everybody waits till the cars are stopped and then they walk through the Passover gap. But I mean, it could happen at any time.
John Fletcher. John Fletcher knows a thing or two about a thing or two. He's saying there's no way the driver could have seen that person. Here's where this is born from, Clinton. It never should have happened, but these series, there's no repercussions. This has been going on for years and years and years. How many times have we seen, whether it's, and I'm not blaming the drivers because they know they can get away with it, but how many times have we seen Bubba Pollard or Stephen Nassi, or the list goes on, shenanigans after the race that are absolutely embarrassing. And I'll give you credit as a promoter. You took your two biggest draws in the Action Sprint Tour, suspended them both for the last race of the year. No questions asked. You don't do this, fellas. It's not going to happen again. You've suspended them. There's real ramifications. Backing up to the fact that Stars Tour is trying to be a legit tour. So, one, there needs to be repercussions, and this shit wouldn't happen. Two, and this has been mentioned by a bunch of people in this chat, why are their bodies on the racetrack at that point? Where were we? You know what, Peterborough, everything was positive at Peterborough, but this upset me. Miles Tyson wins the race, stops on the front stretch. Two crew people go and start working on the right front corner of the car. Hasn't even gone to victory lane yet. Whether they're taking tire temps or... I don't care what they're doing. Get the hell away from that car.
Yeah.
You don't do it. Don't touch it. There needs to be protocols for how this goes down. Nobody should have been on that racetrack except maybe one camera operator. So the fact that there's all these people, the fact that they need a security guard, and I know I'm generalizing, but I've seen ads in a lot of different states in the U.S. for security guards where they ask you to supply your own firearm. So these aren't your typical Walmart security guards. These are beefy dudes. They've got one standing at the left rear corner of a race car. You have got a problem if you need someone of that stature. Have you ever seen parents say, "We're going home. If you keep this up, we're going home"? They're not going home. They're going to be there all night, and they're going to keep saying that same bitch. Take him home once. Pull him out of Chuck E. Cheese. Take him home. He's not going to do it next week, right? So you don't need that security there. The fact that, and we see too much of it, security taking a driver down. Well, now all you've done is pinned a poor sucker down while three others come in and start kicking him. Who are you helping? He was running at a race car at a guy with a helmet on. Let him run to the race car. It's a self-cleaning problem.
I disagree with you there. So there's so many things where I agree and I disagree. First off, why are there people down there? I mean, it happens at every racetrack at that point. If the infield pits are there, by that point in the race, we've already had probably one or two cool-down laps. People know it's hot. I'm asking, why aren't there officials there to keep all those people over the wall? Because there's going to be a problem. You have to read the room with these drivers. You know that Nassi, whatever took place, he's probably not going to be happy with. So why don't you have somebody down there prevent them? On a regular night when everything's cool at the end of the night, those people over the wall is a common thing. A lot of these places.
But they're in the wrong place. Keep the people, use your security to keep people from getting onto the racetrack.
Well, I don't
think if there's two drivers on the track with helmets on, I am less concerned about them than I am the mob, because it becomes a brawl. Like, how many times have we seen it? It becomes a brawl in Clinton. There is always one or two people who are not going to take part in the fight, who are behind the people fighting, shouting, escalating the situation. Like always. This isn't even a sometime situation.
Or
they're egging things on.
You get people who aren't even on the crew who just know the guy, who are just looking for a fight, so they just jump in because they can. Natural instinct is to break up a fight. So I know you've said let the drivers just go at it. That doesn't work. People need to break it up. You're not going to let no crew guy.
Break up.
Buddy, I don't give a shit who it is, whether we're talking hockey, racing. If you think you're going to ragdoll my goalie or my guy around and I'm going to stand back and say, "Oh, just let them go at it," it ain't happening. It's human nature.
Don't step in front of someone who hasn't...
I'm jumping in. There's no way around it.
And you're going to make it worse. It's plain
I guarantee you will.
It's a bad play.
It's a bad play, but
Once
it's
there's
human nature.
No,
You can't stop
overcome
it.
human nature. Wait until there's engagement. It's like looking at someone who's looks like they're looking across the street and stopping them before they jaywalk. Wait until they take a couple steps out into traffic. They might decide they don't want to do it.
I'm
Let
just
the
saying,
driver, let them get partly where they're going. There's no need to tackle them to the ground. Now you've just escalated the situation because now you have flared up dozens of people. Let some of this, I'm not saying let him pummel him until there's teeth flying out of somebody's mouth. But I'm saying there is no need to watch, you haven't watched Roadhouse in too long. Go back and watch Roadhouse again. That's all there is.
Nice.
The only thing you need to know about officiating races is watch Roadhouse and do what Patrick Swayze says.
But by that point, as the officials on the scene, they're outnumbered 20-1 by everybody who's raging and pissed off. So I don't put all this on the officials. Let's call some of these drivers to task for their behavior, okay? How often do we see these drivers in the South on these late model tours acting like total assholes at the end of the races, causing problems, causing fights? Do they ever get disciplined? Is there ever a suspension? That's what you need to do. You need to sit these guys down for a week or two. But the next race, who's booking the Stars Tour, doesn't want to lose their big stars. But you need to do it. You have to not be afraid to park the guys. And who cares if it's one of the biggest sponsors on your tour? That's the biggest problem promoters got in this deal, Adam. I'll tell you that as one guy. When your sponsors own race teams. And the biggest guys who own the race teams are usually your best guys who want to give money to help the sport out. So it's a huge conflict of interest. And you have to be able to park the money to make the right call. So if you have to be able to say, hey man, yeah, we appreciate your 20 grand, and if you take it off and stomp off into the bushes because we parked your guy, we're sorry you don't feel you can be with us, but you have to see where we are.
Yep. And like Cam says about the Sammy Ramo deal, there could be criminal charges coming. That's a completely different level of behavior at a racetrack. And Clinton, that was the first thing I said, and you just wrapped it up with that. Make sure there's repercussions so these drivers don't do it again, right? You have to make the penalty fitting. How many years has this been going on? They'll show up at a track 3 days before the race, burn off 8 sets of tires practicing for this race, run 195 laps of a 200-lap race doing what they do, piss each other off in the last 3 laps. So all they've done is propped up Hoosier Racing Tire, or whoever the tire distributor is, has made tons of money and looked like a couple assholes.
But there are those situations. You look at the action sprint tour race number 7 there at Humberstone. Brett Stratford and Bowman get into it, right? Stratford feels he's hard done by, waits on the track. It will admit it. Waited for Bowman to come around to wreck him. Wrecked him under green. Bowman knows he's going to get suspended. And as we talked about this, I'm in the same boat. I don't give a shit what your rules say. You waited to wreck me? We're going to have a talk about this in the pits after the race, even if it means I get suspended. So, sometimes if, the drivers know what the deal is, they still got to stand up for themselves. I can respect that as long as you're not bitching at me and protesting while you're out the next day,
And I will respect someone for being in a fight more if I know they knew the repercussions and did it anyhow. I don't disrespect Brett Stratford or Mike Bowman. Either of them.
No,
they both did sides. What they felt they needed to do, and that in their individual cases, they both felt they needed to stick up for themselves, knowing there was severe repercussions. They did it anyhow. They paid the price, and they all move on afterwards. So I have respect for that. It's the clowns that do it week after week after week. It just gets silly.
Yeah.
Now you're just a clown show. Now you're just a circus. What are you proving? The announcers, even if you show that again and listen to it, even the announcers know, this is every week. Oh, he's doing it again. They got a little excited when the crew member hit the ground because that was new.
Nassi pulls
but everything else, listen. Just listen to the words.
Position he finished in.
I think Steven wants to have a little face-to-face with Gio.
Some of the crew coming out onto the front stretch as well. Oh! Burnout, and down goes one of the crew members.
Everything is normal
As
except
Gio
for the crew
Ruggiero
member
being
getting hurt.
told
Oh,
to
crew's out on this.
not do a burnout. Nassi out of the car, heading up to the Riero. Security is there. Security will take Nassi down to keep there from being a big brawl.
Yeah.
As the Winchester 400 ends in drama.
Yep.
And one lady in a helmet trying to break it. But even in there was no excitement there. It was just like, yeah, this is post race. We'll get to the trophies in a minute.
Okay. Yep. All right. Mike Goulart's post. Do we have the screenshot of that, Spencer, where he talks about 2 day shows? I think it probably got sent in a couple times this week. If you do, throw that up there. Mike Goulart, Modified Racer in the States. Does anyone else notice the trend of racetracks making 2 day shows that charge 2 pit passes but only pay 1 feature event and maybe some peanuts for the qualifying events? With the price of diesel and the cost of hotels, it just seems crazy to do these kind of shows, but we're all stupid, so we'll keep on attending them. Change my mind. Hashtag counting on the back gate. Well, it does happen. We've seen it both on dirt and pavement. You know, we've kind of resisted it at Schweeken. You know, before we take it home to us, your thoughts on that, Adam?
It's tradition. It's always happened. It's never changed. The oldest race in my mind is the Oswego Speedway Classic. I can't think of anything that's a big deal that's being run longer. Friday is time trials, and then Friday night was a party. Saturday, if you still had it in you to party, you party some more. And then Sunday, you go out and do the race. And it was a time-honored tradition, and everybody loved it. I'm going to go way into the weeds here, Clinton. So this has been happening forever, and these are big races. Traditionally, they have bigger payouts than normal. So there is a suck-it-up buttercup factor to this. The reason I have a hard time with some of these racers complaining is nobody asks them to go out and buy $250,000 toter homes or big-time dollar trailers or crew uniforms that cost in the many thousands of dollars. The list goes on and on and on of what racers have gone out and spent money on, right? For no advantage, zero advantage to your on-track performance. They have gone out, and they can justify it any way they want to. It's a tax write-off, or I can run a tractor-trailer cheaper that can run a pickup truck. Whatever. You can't run that tractor-trailer cheaper than you could the ramp truck that Bob McCready used. Like, you're going out and spending ridiculous amounts of money, and then you're going to point at that, a 2-day show? That's the trouble. Like, you can't make that argument. I look at some of the old-school racers, so Norm Macareth, when he ran Oswego every week, they didn't stay in hotels. They had billet families. They stayed with the Ferlito family or with the, what's the name of them? I can see her, Jeannie, the Howard family. And these people would go and set up camp. The Dirt Track Digest crew, when they do Super Dirt Week, they rent a house to go. So it's, it's cost effective. There's ways you can go down and do that. Back in the day, people converted school buses. So nobody asked drivers to invest all this money, blow all this money. So it's hard to come to turn around and say, tracks are ditching us. If you need me, I'll be up in the front of my trailer in the lounge. So is he right? Yes, he's right. But there's so much else going on. If you think track owners are getting rich, you are sadly mistaken. And the culture is finally shifting to where people are like, I hope JP at Peterborough makes a boatload of money from Autumn Colors, because I'm sure there are nights through the year that he doesn't make that kind of money. And what's going to happen when it all ends? People will wish for the good old days. Well, folks, the good old days, support the people that support the racing. Open your eyes to what is going on. Peterborough, again, off topic, they went in, everyone got 6 or 7 laps of practice, and they ran the race. Holy shit, that's novel. One practice section, 6 or 7 laps, boogity, boogity, boogity. Some of the cleanest racing I've watched all year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Some of the events are tradition, and I think once it becomes tradition, like you said, like an Autumn Colors, like a Oswego Classic, enough people aspire to win them that it doesn't matter whether they got to pay 4 days of pit. You know, as a promoter, we always try and think about, how can we make it work for us, kind of pin the racers in, but not rip them off, if that makes sense. So, for example, at Oshweekend, one thing we'll do. So, look at the Sprint Car Nationals, for example. It's truly a one-day show on the Saturday. We're talking about the 360s. But we host heats, and so we host a practice Thursday, open track time. We host heats on Friday, with the two twin winners being guaranteed starters. So there is a bit of a carrot to race on Friday. There's a bit of a carrot to practice on Thursday as more track time. But if you want to wheel in at noon on Saturday and pay your one pit, you have every chance, just as everybody else, to qualify. So I like those kind of shows where there's there's an advantage to be there Friday, because if you can win one of your twin qualifiers, you're guaranteed to start like 9th or 10th in the feature. So
and you're turning practice night into a show night. And to Stickers and Scuff's point, here's a great point. Again, I'm going to pick on Peterborough. JP talks about bringing the APC series in. You have to charge more money for that show. So what would normally be a $12 ticket or a $15 ticket is a $25 or a $30 ticket. He has to fill that place with a crowd who is not his normal Saturday crowd because they can't afford to go to that show. And there's a lot of racetracks like that. You're getting people who spend everything they can to go to a regular show. When you bring in those specials, they can't afford to come. So you've got to attract a different clientele that's going to pay some more money. So Cam, do people not want families to come? No, that's absolutely not the case. But you have to look at the reality of a situation. Who is my target audience? Who am I promoting this event for? Clinton, we've talked about some of the specials you want to bring to Oshweekend and what it will have to cost to run certain races and how many seats you're going to have to sell. And those are all decisions a promoter has to weigh. But it's why they don't run bone stocks as a premier class anywhere. Because traditionally it takes a little bit more to draw people to the gate. They want a little bit more. Not saying they don't put on a hell of a show, but they put on a hell of a show as the warm-up show to the main event. And quite often it'll be a better show than the main event. But without one or the other, you don't have that full recipe. So you need it all to work together, and you have to find that magic formula. You want to pull as much money out of your race fans' pockets as you can to make the money you need to make, but still make them feel like they got every single dollar's worth.
Albert says he wishes tracks would go back to restricted pits. No kids, no pets. Interesting theory. We're so family oriented now in society that, you have a lot of separated parents. Dad can't come to the races because he's got his kids every second week. But if the kids can come to the races, he can still race. I mean, things were a lot more, solid family-wise 50 years ago. Is that wrong for me to say?
All those years ago, and I'm going to stereotype here, but it's how it was. The mom stayed in the stands with the kids while the dads and his buddies were racing. So the stands had 6 people in them from one crew, and the Shaw family. I mean, hell, I can remember Helen Shaw having Dale, Samantha, all of them up in the stands. Ron Shaw, Jake Shaw, Don Shaw, Phil Shaw, Jeff Shaw were all racing hobby cars on the track, or whether it was late models at Flamborough, but half the family was in the stands, the other half was in the pits. So I was racing around the time that a lot of these things changed. I can remember being at Barrie Speedway. I'm pretty sure it was Barrie that allowed kids before others did. And it got really dark back in the pit area when you were driving back. And let me tell you, it was scary because you never knew what was going to run out from between trailers. Nowadays, it seems pretty commonplace. So I don't think you can put that back in the box. I don't think you can go back to the days when kids aren't around because you want it to be as much of a family event as you can. But you want there to be certain controls. And you want it to be an atmosphere where you'd be happy to bring your kids to also.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like we like to say, families that race together stay together. I mean, you know where your teenage kids are. They're not out causing trouble and getting in heck on a Friday and Saturday after the races with their parents and their uncles and their cousins. You know, it's been good. Yeah, Fran, I was going to bring up Nancy Bicknell. It wasn't that long ago that females weren't allowed in the dirt pits, and Nancy Bicknell was the first lady to crash that door down and open up that. The women just had to be on the front side. It was one of the last segregated sports we had here. So, yeah. Well, Stickers and Scuff says, interesting NASCAR had that policy, no kids under 16. As a promoter, what I've learned over the years is, if an adult gets hurt, we pay them off, they go away. If a kid gets hurt, you have to cover their medical bills for the rest of their life. So, like, when you come to us weekend, you're like, why is it $45 for my baby to get in? Well, the cold, hard truth is, ma'am, we don't want your baby in the pit area. We understand it's Friday night and you got to be near them because it's your weekend or whatever the deal is, but, hey, when they get real ornery at them, the easy answer is, it's free over there. 45 here.
Yeah.
Just right there. Take them over there. You watch for free. You can't be up close to the cars, but if you must be here, and no deals for babies, and some tracks give it, Hey, one last thing. Let's end on a fun note. Do you think, I don't know if he's watching, do you think I could get Doug Leonard, and do you think it would work to bring in the gentleman's rule that we've discovered at Peterborough to the dirt track at Ushweek? So, let's bring the fans up to speed before you give me your answer. If I'm racing Adam in his Thunderstocks, let's say, and I make a mistake and I spin Adam out, I am allowed to pull over to an official and say, that one's on me. I'm going to the back, give Adam his spot back. In racing, it's traditionally been, if you get your day wrecked, your day's wrecked. There's no hope to fix it. I kind of like this rule, Adam. I could maybe twist Doug's arm to do it because you don't intentionally want to wreck someone's deal. We're already having a caution. I know it's against everything we were brought up on the dirt, but what's your thoughts on it?
I don't think Ushweekend's the place to do it. I think you could do it at Flam. No. At Ushweekend, here's the trouble. You race 6 wide at Ushweekend. Right? So who caused the wreck? The driver that hit another driver, or the driver 2 cars on the inside that slid up and hit one car to hit the other car to hit the other car that finally spun the other? I think you could do it at Peterborough, Flamborough, Sauble, probably Humberstone. I think Ushweekend is not the place to do it. I think Delaware probably not the place to do it, but I think there are places that it would work just great.
What happens if they don't take it on? Then they don't take it on. Then it's the official's call. Goes back to the rule we know is a no. But I've seen it a couple of times. I'm like, that's kind of neat, because me, I'm not a pro out there. If I'm out there racing and I wreck you, Adam, by accident, I want you to get your spot. I never want to wreck your day.
No, totally. It's and it's not situational to the. You don't look at that situation and decide that'd be a good place to do it. You have to set that tone in the off season.
Brighton and Buxton do it. Right. Why can't we do it?
I just told you why. The new Buxton does it. That's interesting. I know. That's a culture. You create that culture and it works. So it's not, we're going to try this tonight, folks. If you set that up in the winter, maybe it's something you could go to. And hey.
In all my history of officiating, the only time on the dirt I've ever seen us give a spot back is when someone got black flagged, kind of like the Stratford Bowman deal, and someone came out of the pits specifically to wreck the leader. And they got the spot back.
Was that a mod stock race?
Could have been. I mean, we're talking a million years ago, before I had gray hair and you were ugly,
Alvars, yeah, that's right. Alvars, it took years, but I absolutely agree with you. If you spin somebody out, you should go to the back with them. If you spin somebody out and they happen to tag the inside wall, take a corner off their car, you should be in the pits right next to them. Done.
That's a controversial
I really agree with that.
Thing we could talk about. Interesting.
And Robert, so I don't think, just like in technical inspection, I don't think intent matters 9 times out of 10. Unless you're talking about something absolutely like someone bringing a board out more like a completely bastardized motor into something that they couldn't have possibly not known was illegal. But I don't. It's very, very hard to judge intent because what's the difference between me going into the corner and hitting Clint in the left rear corner and spinning him out, or me going in the corner a little too hot, locking up the front brakes and hitting Clint in the left rear corner and spinning him out? It's my responsibility to control my car, and it's my responsibility not to make contact with Clint and spin him out. So whether I did it on purpose or by accident almost doesn't matter.
Okay, 2 scenarios here before we end the show. Robert Hill says, yeah, so you just got Rately, wrecked the guy, and pulled beside him and go, yeah, I did it, give him the spot back. So you still got to take a free shot of him. He got a spot back. Steve Shaw says, I've let the car go around on purpose. So if the guy keeps bumping you, you just let it spin out on purpose. He's got to go to the back, and you get your spot back. So he gets him off your ass, and you get your spot back.
Hey, you could go down this rabbit hole because Clint, there's a time where if I get you in the left rear, there are situations where the best thing I can do for you is keep pushing until you're spun to the infield. Because if you and I are racing first and second at the start of a race, and I leave you sideways in front of the field, that's a real dick move. Like you're almost doing someone a favor. And Steve Shaw is probably a perfect example of that. Someone with someone who's a veteran who would know, okay, I can let them gather this up. I'm going to lift. And other times like, shit, it's too late. I'm just going to keep on going, spit them to the infield. It's probably going to cause me to go to the back, but at least it's not going to pile up 10 cars behind us.
Well, we made it to the end of another hour. We are off officially. I want to thank everybody for everything they did this summer for us. We'll talk a little bit more about our wrap-up of the season next week and some of the stuff we went through. Let's put that on the rundown for next week. Just our G4 season in review, talk about some of the stuff. And we went through some of the fun we had, some of the trials we had. Like me, I'm still limping on my broken toe from Peterborough 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, it's ugly.
It's still purple and black, and some of the stuff we have going on. No more racing for us, though, by the looks of it. We're excited. APC Banquet this weekend. So excited to be headed to that on Saturday night, and we'll bring you some news from that next week. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Thanks, Spencer, for all the prep you put in. And Adam, always good chatting with you, bud.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's the off-season depression has already set in for me. I crashed pretty hard on Monday, so I'm working on getting myself back together and lifting my spirits. But it's a long off-season. This shortens it quite a bit, so I enjoy these Tuesday nights.
I'm going to add those to the rundown right now. We'll talk about off-season blues and what we went on this summer. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. We are starting the planning already for 2024, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.